उसके बारे में आज हम बात करेंगे. I have the pleasure of hosting for the first time on my show Premier David Eby, and he has joined us over the phone line. Let's just welcome him. Good morning, Premier. Thank you so much for making time this morning.
Good morning, Manny. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time you have come on my show.
I can't believe that. That's crazy.
And I'm hoping that this is just the first of many more appearances in the future.
I hope so, too.
All right. So a lot of my listeners are anxious, Premier, about the tariff war. And you have taken quite an aggressive stance on this against the Americans. Now, American liquor is off our stores. You want coal exports to the U.S. either taxed or stopped altogether. And there is news that you have some more measures in the pipeline. What else are you planning, if you can reveal?
Absolutely. I'll do my best. I mean, this whole thing is so chaotic, and the president every day and sometimes 2 or 3 times a day is changing his position. So it can be challenging to understand even what the Americans are planning to do. So what we're doing is we're introducing legislation, a new law that will allow us to respond very quickly to these changes. Everything from being able to trade more easily across the country for businesses, so that they can sell their products right across Canada. Making sure that Crown corporations are buying Canadian first. We've issued them a direction around that. And also being able to retaliate. So one of the pieces we'll be introducing in the law is allowing us to place an extra charge on shipments of goods that are going from Washington State to Alaska. They pass through British Columbia to do that. And that's not because we don't like Alaskans. That's to send a message to the Republican governor and the Republican congresswoman of Alaska that they have to push the president to start acting like a grown-up and like the president of our strongest ally and trading partner, to sit down at the table with us and work this stuff out instead of whatever it is that he's doing right now, which is chaos and hurting families on both sides of the border.
Looks like the European Union has also followed your strategy, because they have also announced tariffs on products, American products from the red states. But you just expanded the ambit to include all American liquor. So was it necessary, Premier?
It's a challenging thing because down the west coast of the United States, there are governors and congresspeople who are advocating for Canada right now. They're saying that these tariffs are a bad idea, that they're going to hurt their economies, that it's hurting American families, the prices are going up, the stock market is collapsing, the country's going into recession. Why is the president doing this? So they're standing with us, and many of us have family and friends in the U.S. that can't understand this either. I've got a stack of letters in my office from Americans who are so embarrassed about what the president is doing. And so boycotting alcohol products from these states felt like, why would we go after Oregon wine when Oregon's standing with us right now? But for Canadians, when the president said he wanted to redraw the border, when he said he wanted to come in and take our water, that it's not even just a trade dispute anymore, that he wanted to go after our timber industry even further with a special investigation. They can't even stomach seeing American alcohol products on the shelf. It doesn't matter where they're from. Many people come and say, just get rid of it all. And unfortunately, you're part of a team in the U.S., whether you sign on to it or not. We need everybody to be pushing the president to change his policies right now. And so we took all the alcohol off the shelves.
Your counterpart in Ontario, he announced surcharge on electricity exports, but had to climb down after Donald Trump announced 50% tariffs on aluminium and steel. Now, there is talk that there are limits to what Canadian premiers can do. Do you buy that?
Well, there's some reality to the fact that the American market is 10 times the Canadian market. They're big and they're powerful. I think it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau that said living in Canada was like, beside the U.S., was like sleeping with an elephant. If the elephant just twitches a little bit, it can easily crush you. And so we have to be very strategic in how we go after the Americans. I think Team Canada has done very well. Americans are starting to make the connection between tariffs on Canada and the fact that the price of things is going up. They're starting to connect the fact that these tariff threats, not just to Canada, but to the entire world, are collapsing the stock market, are leading to projections that the U.S. economy is going into recession. It's why their employer is telling them that they're reducing shifts and not hiring, or investments they had planned are on hold because they don't know how much they're going to pay for steel or aluminum or wood or energy. And so the Americans are starting to connect the dots, and I think a lot of that is due to the efforts of Team Canada. But we have to be very strategic here. We're David fighting Goliath. We've got to battle very carefully. America is a very big and powerful country.
Is there any plan to tax energy exports to U.S., BC's energy exports, BC Hydro's exports at all?
Well, nothing's off the table for us. You know, whatever it takes to get the attention of the Americans, we're prepared to do it. The law we're introducing will enable us to take steps like that. It's not our preference. You know, we're in a different situation than Ontario when it comes to electricity. We buy very cheap from the Americans when they have electricity they can't use, and we sell it to them when they are in peak periods and they don't have another source, which means that we make a lot of money selling electricity to the Americans, which makes electricity cheaper for BC businesses and for families. So what the measures we want to take are ones that hurt the Americans as much as possible without impacting British Columbians. We want to impact them as little as possible. And so electricity is not one of those things, but the toll on commercial shipments to Alaska is an example. And we're going to look for more of those opportunities that really have that impact on Americans, but the British Columbians are able to shrug off.
Now, because of his aggressive stance, I think Doug Ford has got an audience with the Trump administration, though a Prime Minister designate, Mark Carney, has said that he's not going to have any conversation with Donald Trump till Canadians and Canadian sovereignty is respected. Are you also expecting a call? And if you do get a call, how are you going to respond?
I'm not expecting a call, but of course I'm happy to have conversations. I went to Washington D.C. With a delegation of premiers to meet with American decision makers. But what I quickly realized was that Republican congresspeople, that Republican staffers, that Republican senior advisors, nobody there has any idea what's going on. Only one person knows what's happening, and that's the president. And he only knows what's happening every hour or so. And he'll change his mind 2 or 3 times a day. So you can meet with the senior advisors, and they can assure you that the president is headed in a certain direction. And before the day's over, he's contradicted them on Truth Social. You know, it makes it incredibly difficult. I don't blame the Prime Minister-elect for being reluctant to meet until basic dignity and Canada's sovereignty is respected, because it's hard for me to know that there's any approach with this president that will make any difference, given that he changes his mind 3 times a day, and you can't rely on his word, and you can't rely on his signature.
I know your time is limited, Premier, but I still have one more question for you.
Sure.
You know, in this time of crisis, BC seems to be a divided house when it comes to our political leadership. Are you at all having conversations with the Conservative Party, because they seem to be speaking a different language than yours, and there was a no-confidence motion against your government? They say that you started on a combative note because on the very first day of your new government, you said that you are not going to negotiate or even talk to people like Brent Chapman across the aisle. So was that a very difficult stance for you to take? Do you think you could have done things differently? And are you going to go across the aisle and take the Conservative Party into confidence?
Yeah, it's an unusual thing, because I think Canadians and British Columbians have never been so unified. And unfortunately, yes, we are speaking a different language than the Conservatives right now. I mean, it was just yesterday, it was just Tuesday, that Anna Kennedy, she's an MLA for the Conservatives on the North Island. She was part of a panel at a conference where she sat right beside a YouTuber named Clyde Do Something. I don't know what this panel was, but it must have been quite something. But this guy is literally advocating that people buy American products. He said, I'm going to do my best to buy American products so the idiots who are buying into Trudeau's Team Canada BS have less impact. Now, I don't know how in a moment like this, as an MLA representing British Columbia, you can sit beside a traitor that would sell out our country and that would tell people to buy American to undermine our sovereignty and not want to throw up. And that is the difference between us and the Conservatives right now. The leader of the Conservatives tolerates his MLAs. Another one introduced another YouTuber that called Doug Ford a big fat, and he used a slur, and he said that shutting off electricity to the U.S. was an act of war, and he didn't blame Donald Trump for attacking Canada. Well, if you're endorsing traitors as the Conservative Party, I am not going to be engaging with you because you do not understand what is at stake here, which is our sovereignty, our country, and Canadians understand it. If the Conservatives don't understand it, then they need to get out of the way.
Your counterpart in Alberta, she seems keen to play ball with people across the border. And in fact, she's going to have an appearance with Ben Shapiro, who is, again, one of those right-wing worthies in the American political right. And in fact, she's slightly reluctant on this Team Canada approach, at least on certain things. So have you had any chance to talk to her about this?
Yeah, actually, our relationship with Alberta is quite good right now. We're engaging with them to strengthen our electrical ties across the border so that we are able to sell electricity to Alberta instead of to Americans. If they're going to put a tariff on our electricity, we'd much rather sell it to Albertans than to Washington State or California, for example. So we're doing that work with them. One of the interesting things with the Team Canada approach that has evolved is that Danielle Smith has been able to go down and speak directly with Republicans advocating for Team Canada in a language that they understand. And Doug Ford has been able to be aggressive on the Ontario side, and certainly I count myself in that camp of pushing hard from the outside. But it's good to have people who are able to go down there and speak the language of the Republicans, all pushing in the same direction, which is fighting for Canada, fighting to get rid of the tariffs, standing up for our country, which is something I wish I saw consistently in our legislature.
Premier Eby, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And tomorrow is Holi. Would you like to say something to our listeners on Holi?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had a little Holi celebration here at the legislature. I got some bright colored powder all over my suit at the beginning of the day. It was lots of fun. Happy Holi to everybody, and also obviously it's Ramadan Mubarak to all of your listeners who are Muslim, who are marking Eid right now, and I wish everybody a happy Holi, Ramadan Mubarak, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. It was lovely speaking with you. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Speaking with you.